Hello, everyone. How's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another wonderful vid, and I guess can't resist this. I guess for some reason, mostly because I'm learning something new every week. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about my third week of unemployment, um, and a little bit of what's going on. So, here's some things that I've learned. Number one, you put your resume up on the leading job sites like Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, wherever. Almost all of the responses you get to your resume from employers are a joke. I have had dozens of offers to be of course, a at-home shipper, which is basically some sort of a scam, the at-home shipping job scam. That's totally not a real job, and I get job offers for those, like probably 5 or 6 of those a day. I also get what else do I get? Oh, I get a wonderful opportunity to be a commission-only insurance agent. I get a couple of those every day. Those are the obvious ignore, scam, go away type of things, right? The other now, these aren't scams, but I get a fucking plague of Indians, right? Um, I mean, they fucking descend on me like like flies on shit, right? I mean, they just send me this shit like they'll call me up and they'll be like, "Do I have a job halfway across the country?" It's like they have no concept of where I am versus where the job is located. Like, I'll get it like, "Do you want to go to Wisconsin for a 6-month contract?" Now, for those of you who aren't in the United States, Wisconsin is several states away from where I am. I'm near Cincinnati. Wisconsin is pretty far west. So for a European person, it would be the equivalent of somebody who lives in the UK getting an offer maybe to, go work in Italy for 6 months, and then the job ends. I'm just distance wise, that's kind of what we're looking at. So it's obviously I'm not too interested in that. So I get a lot of that kind of shit. I get thrown things that I'm not really qualified for, and none of that ever pans out. None of it ever does, right? So that is the majority. Now I have gotten like maybe one or two semi-legitimate things by placing my resume to be searchable by employers, but the 99.99% of it is absolute just junk and worthless. So that's one thing that I've learned. Another thing I've learned is that honesty may not always be the best policy in job interviews. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying you should lie about your qualifications. You should be truthful about that. I'm not saying you should lie about what's happened at previous jobs. Those things you should tell the truth about. Because when they ask me why I left my my last job, current job, shit, I haven't worked now for 22 days. But when they ask why you left your last job, I tell the truth about that as well. So I don't lie about what happened at my last job, and I don't lie about my qualifications or skills or anything like that. But when you are interviewing for crap jobs, it may not be a great idea, to be totally honest. And let me kind of explain what happened this week. On, I think it was Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. I had 2 job interviews, right? Job interview number 1 was for a job I actually really, really wanted. And I was really excited about the job, and it was like I was if a job could be created exactly for me, it would pretty much be the job that I interviewed for, right? My skills and experience lined up pretty much exactly with what they're looking for. I'll let you know how that went in a second, but take a guess right now. I thought that interview went fairly well, by the way. I was like, wow, that went pretty good. I think it went pretty good. I think I have a decent shot. You'll see. So anyway, then I went to, that was scheduled. That was Tuesday at 2:30 was that interview. And then I had another one scheduled for I'm sorry, that was a 1:30 interview. I had another one scheduled for 4 o'clock in a different part of the city. So what I did is I went to that 1:30 interview, the interview for the good job that I wanted. I went through it, the whole 9 yards. I go home because my next interview was scheduled for 4. I get home. I sit at home for maybe half hour, 40 minutes, right? And then I start heading towards the second interview. And the second interview, and this was a job I wasn't really sure that I wanted anyway, right? It was a somewhat crappy job, for lack of a better term, and I don't give a shit if I even tell you guys where it was. It was at, since I didn't get it, and I'll explain why. It was at Toyota, the Toyota Parts Warehouse in Hebron, Kentucky. Okay, so I just identified exactly where I'm going, but whatever. So I go down there, or I start going down there, and I get a phone call from the recruiter, who the fuck ever, that they're like, well, the guy who's going to meet you is running late, and he can't meet you at 4. He's going to want to either meet you at 5 o'clock or tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I already, headed home, sat there for a half hour, and headed back out. I said, I really don't want to repeat that. I said, I don't mind meeting him at 4:20 or 4:30, if he's just running a little bit late, but I really don't want to turn around, go home, sit there for 30 minutes, and then head back out. And they're like, okay, well, just go home then. I'm like, all right. So I start heading back to the house, and then, of course, 2 minutes later, I get a call. Oh, no, he'll meet you there at 4:30. So I turn the fuck around and go back. So basically, so I head back, and I get there. And then around, I don't know, 4:30 or so, the guy shows up. And we go back and we do the interview, right? And the interview went okay, but I find out some things in the interview that I didn't know prior to the interview. Now, keep in mind, this interview was not directly with Toyota. Heaven fucking forbid that be the case. No, it was with a company that does IT consulting for them, right? But not even them. It was for a recruit. So basically, the way this shitty job would work is I would be on a contract only for 6 months. Not basically a contract with a contractor for Toyota. So double fucking jeopardy there, right? And no health insurance or anything for those first 6 months. So I was already not super enthused about this fucking job, right? So I get there, and, we're going back and forth about the job. And then I come to find out 2 things that the recruiter did not tell me before the interview. I learned that the job may or may not be permanent, and it was second shift. These were things that were not told to me before the interview, right? And when these things were revealed to me, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, that kind of, that's not what I thought it was. So I acted, somewhat disappointed. I didn't I was professional, of course. I'm always professional. Even no matter what I'm thinking inside, I'm always professional. But, I was thinking to myself, wow, that's kind of shitty. I didn't say that, but that's exactly what was going through my head. And, but I thought the interview went okay, and I head back home, and I think to myself, well, I probably blew the interview, right? That's what I was thinking to myself. I was like, I probably blew it. So whatever. Anyway, next day rolls around. We're on Wednesday, right? Wednesday morning, I get up and I'm still in the running for this one, by the way. I get up, I go to another interview on Thursday. Or I'm sorry, not Thursday, Wednesday. Jesus, Wednesday. And the job is in a lot. It's not exactly a dream job, but it's pretty close. There's a few things about it that aren't perfect, but it's very close to perfect. I'm not going to give too many details so you can't suss this out, but it would be with a public institution, extremely well funded, very stable, and the job would suit me incredibly well, I think. Now, I could probably make more money somewhere else, but I don't care because it would definitely pay enough. It would pay well, and I think I would be extremely happy in that job. Plus, I think it's an absolutely fantastic organization to work for. That's basically all I'm going to say about it. So I'm really got my fingers crossed for that one. But I know there's going to be, in fact, the interviewer told me as much as that there's going to be a lot of competition for this job. So I don't know. I think the interview went fairly well, but whether I get selected or not, who knows? I'll find that out sometime next week. So whatever. I do that interview, and then the rest of the Wednesday passes by, and nothing happens, right? So Thursday rolls around. And on Thursday, I get my official FU from the first interview I had on Tuesday, which was the good job, right? The 1:30 p.m. interview for what I considered the good job out of the two I was interviewing for that day. So I basically I'm hanging out like, okay, whatever. I got the FU from that, like, and what I mean by the FU letter is, of course, the ever lovely letter you get. Thank you for your time and interest in our organization. We're so glad you took the time to interview with us, but unfortunately, we've decided to pursue other candidates at this time. But we would love to keep you in mind for future opportunities. Please feel free to reapply. That just basically means go the fuck away. We don't want you, right? Just saying it in a very polite way. So that's what happened Thursday, right? And pretty much nothing else. And then, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Around 5:20 p.m. on Thursday, I can't believe it, I get a call about the Toyota job. And I was like, I expect that. And I was told that it was basically down to me and one other person, and there was a 95% chance it was me that I would get the job. I was like, really? Wow, okay, great. Because then I really sat and I thought about the Toyota job. I was like, you know what? Even though the job would be shitty and it's not optimal, it beats nothing. It would pay fairly well, and it will do the job. And I was thinking to myself, well, even if I don't really want that job, doesn't matter because since it's second shift, I can just keep my job hunt going basically almost 100%, right? And just in very easily schedule interviews during the day when I wouldn't be at work. So I can just keep looking for another job while I'm at Toyota, and it will at least pay the bills for a while. I'll have to get my own health insurance, but I can pay the bills, right? That was my mentality going through my head, and I was like, yeah, I'll have to work till midnight, but whatever, that's still not too bad. It's not third shift. I can live with that. And I was kind of like compromising with myself and my brain, right, about how it wouldn't be so bad if I had to do it for a while. Well, Friday rolls around today. Well, actually, no, yesterday. I'm recording this at 1:16 a.m. Jesus. This is what happens when you're employed. Your time gets fucking out of whack. So anyway, I get I'm hearing like crickets about Toyota right today. I was like, well, shit, I thought it was a 95 fucking % chance I was going to get it. So, I don't know, this afternoon or yesterday afternoon, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I call the original recruiter and I ask her, and I'm like, hey, what's up with the Toyota job? And she's like, well, normally we'd send an email about this, but they went with the other candidate. I'm just thinking to myself, holy fuck. It's quite a blow to the ego when you can't even get, like, the shitty jobs, right? Like, I've been on 5 interviews so far, which is pretty good for the amount of time I've been out of work. I've basically been on 5 interviews over the last 2 weeks, which is a lot of interviews for that amount of time, right? So I'm not complaining about the amount of interviews. I've had plenty of interviews. It's just the fact that at least 4 of the 5 have failed, right? Now, the really awesome job is still a possibility, and I really got my fucking fingers crossed for that one. But the 4 failed. In 2 of the jobs that I interviewed, 2 of the 4 that I interviewed, actually, no, 3 of the 4 were kind of shitty, right? That have failed. Only 1 did I really want. The other 3 were bad, because the other job that I didn't mention that I would consider bad was very low paying, right? That was the issue with that job. The pay was incredibly low on one of them. But 2 of the jobs were just straight terrible. 1 was low paying. And when you're getting rejected for jobs that, frankly, now I don't mean to sound snobbish, but I'm 15 years into my career. I have some pretty decent skills. And I have a really good history, right? So I've reached a level to where I'm definitely not entry level anymore. And when you're not getting, frankly, jobs that are, I don't want to say beneath me, maybe a better term would be jobs that I should have no problem nailing, right? And when they're just slipping through your fingers, it's a huge blow to your ego, right? It is a blow to your ego. In fact, I am going to interview. I have one scheduled for Tuesday. It's a job. I'm betting I'll probably have more than 1 interview next week overall, but right now I only have 1 scheduled thus far. More will probably pop up, but the one that I'm interviewing for on Tuesday, I don't know about it yet. Based on the initial job description, and I've certainly applied for a lot of jobs that I would consider more entry level than what I am. I mean, of course, I'm going all up and down I'm applying for jobs, of course, that I'm perfectly suited for as well, and slightly above what I'm suited for. So, shit, I've probably applied for, I don't know, 110, 115 jobs at this fucking point. I have no idea. I've applied for a lot of fucking jobs. But anyway, I'm really getting off track. So, I'm going to stop being as honest about my level of enthusiasm for these jobs. I'm going to, even if I don't really want the job that much, I think I'm going to make it my business to not show any disappointment whatsoever in the job interview. Now, the job that I really, really, really want, I sent the thank you note I sent to the person I interviewed with. I'm going to read this to you guys and see what you think. I'm going to redact, of course, any identifying information from it. So if I read a little bit slow, you'll know why. So where is it? Where is there it is. Okay. Hi, blank. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your time today and giving me the opportunity to interview for the blank position. Of all of the positions I have interviewed for, I am the most excited about blank organization by far. I really liked what you said about the organization and the impact it has on someone. If I'm lucky enough to be selected, I could definitely see myself making a career at blank. I've worked for enough organizations to recognize a good one when I see one. Thanks so much again, and I look forward to hearing back about the decision that will be made. And the reason I sent that is because I legitimately feel that way about that job. I don't say this very much. In fact, I never say this. In fact, I think this job would be so good. It is one I would make a sincere, extreme effort to retire from. Right? It's that good of a job. I never say that. I can't say I never fucking say that. I never say to myself, I hope I retire from this job. Every job I've not even interviewed for a job like that before, right? That's how good I think this job would be. So my fingers are really crossed on this, and I'm hoping it really works out. But I have no idea if it will or not. I will find out sometime next week. The only one possible pitfall I see for myself, maybe not getting this role over someone else, is I don't have a whole lot of Apple/Mac skills, and apparently there are some. Now, I was told it wasn't a requirement; it was just nice to have, not a requirement. But apparently, in the research department of this organization, there are some Apple/Macs, so that could, if someone comes along who is, well, just as enthusiastic as I am and maybe overall his amount of experience and all that, but they also have that may put them over the top. So I don't know. Hopefully I get it, but I'm certainly not counting on it. I'm not saying, oh, I've got it on lock. I am not saying that at all. I'm just got my fucking fingers crossed. So anyway, that's it. I know this was long and meandering, but, shit's been happening. So anyway, if you've made it through this, thank you so much. That's pretty much it. I promise I will start talking about music very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Live long and prosper.